My name's Will Taylor and I write a blog called Bright Bazaar. What makes me really happy about what I do is knowing and seeing people bringing more colour into their homes across the world. I'm going to show you how you can channel something you love into an everyday piece to upcycle it into something super special. I swear, I've spent like hundreds of dollars on furniture and it's always the piece that I got from Target that I've upcycled myself that really gets people stopping and talking. So it just proves that you don't have to spend a lot of money to make something really shine in your home. I just love it, it's great. Good Housekeeping TV, make time to make stuff. Ahoy there, Will from brightbazaarblog.com again. This time I'm going to show you how you can channel something you love into an everyday piece to upcycle it into something super special. Now if you hadn't guessed, I love anything nautical, and I mean anything nautical, including my little anchor belt buckle, which I'm feeling is giving me superpowers to make this DIY amazing. And it's going to channel in my love of anything from the seaside. So if you don't love things nautical, don't worry, because you can swap out the nautical elements for what you do like. So maybe that's monochrome, maybe that's pastels. The tools and tips from this project still stand. Just swap out for what represents your personality and what you love. But back to me. We're going to do nautical. So now we're all aboard the DIY ship. Let's get started. Things that you're going to need for this class are paintbrushes. Give yourself a couple of different sizes and that'll make it easier for you when you're doing more intricate areas if you've got a smaller brush and a bigger brush to speed up the bigger areas. You're also going to want some painter's tape. Make sure you use masking tape or frog tape. It's one of my favorite brands to use because they come off really easily. Use normal Scotch tape and you're going to find it sticks too much and you're going to get seepage. So that's really important to get that right. Not one to cut corners on. Sandpaper, again, that's going to help you take down any of the sheen off your product, whether it's something you've bought that's new or if you've got an everyday piece that's been in the house for a while. You're going to need a cloth so you can wipe off any grease before you get started, as well as another cloth to dry up before you start painting. And then the really fun bit, let's face it, is the paint. So I've got here, to go with my nautical theme, a 2-in-1 Valspar paint and primer blue paint. The best thing about Valspar is that you can pick any color that you like with their color match service. They have over 2 million potential color options. So you've got, take your favorite blouse in, take in the color of a artwork from that a kid's brought home from school. Maybe it's a throw on the bed, whatever it is, take it in and they'll color match it for you. So that's a really top tip, so you can personalize it for how you like. So now you've got your tools in place, we're gonna get started. So the first thing to do is grab your cloth and you just need to wipe down the whole of the unit where you're gonna paint. So we're gonna paint the front drawers as an accent. So we're gonna get that all clear of any grease and then do the same with the legs, which we're gonna dip, so that it has this slightly nautical feel, but nothing that's too themed. Okay, so the next step, once it's wiped down, is to take the hardware off, because we're gonna swap that out for a customized personal touch later in the project. So you can either use a screwdriver to hold at the back, depending on whether it needs it or not, and they usually just very simply come off like so. Take those out, leave them in the drawer, and then you know that you've got them should you ever want to swap back at a later date. Again, I'm just going to hold, because my fingers won't fit, I'm going to use a screwdriver to hold it at the back. Comes off quite simply, and it comes out just like that. So super simple. You're going to get some sandpaper, and then you're just going to fold it over like this and hold, and we're just going to go over like this. And this is really important to rough up the surface so that when you come to do your painting and priming, we've got a 2-in-1, but if you don't have primer in your paint, you do need to have a separate primer coat. As I said before, the 2-in-1s make it so much easier because you're missing out a whole step, but without any loss of effect for the final product. So as you can see here, this is taking off this fine layer of the top, which just gives the paint somewhere to have an adhesive surface to go onto. So we just go all the way around like that. So with the draw down, you can then turn your attention to the legs, because we're going to dip those. So just going to quickly spin round on the areas that are going to get painted. And like I said, you don't have to be too vigorous with it. It's not about distressing it too far. It's just taking off that top layer. So we're going to work around. So it's super quick. Doesn't take long. This really is a project that you can do in half a day. The longest time is when you're waiting for paint to dry. So you can grab a cocktail, you can chill out, you know. To be honest, that's my favorite bit, you know, you just sit back. And let's be honest, no one really likes the prep. The prep is kind of the dull bit because you're not seeing the transformation, but it's the most important bit because if you don't prep, the finish you end up with just doesn't look professional. So it's worthwhile just taking that time. But as I said, the prep for this, as you can see, is a matter of minutes. So it is worthwhile not skipping it. Sanding done, I'm going to grab my cloth again and I'm going to wipe over so I get rid, as you can see, this excess from the sanding so that I have a nice, smooth, clean surface onto which to paint. So I'm going to whiz round and get that done. And at this point, you can start to think about the design that you want to do. So if you wanted to go really out there, say you love stripes. Now, I love a stripe. As well. So you could, for example, if you wanted, you could paint stripes all the way up using your masking tape. I'm going to show you very shortly how to introduce one stripe. But remember, personalize it for what feels right for you. If you want to go for a different look, switch it up. That's the best thing about customizing furniture, is you're doing it to make it right for you and what you love. And there's nothing better than that, because someone goes, where did you get that from? And it's like, well, I got it from Target, but I did this to it, and then you feel super amazing and fabulous and talented, and hey, we all love that. We are almost ready to paint, so let's recap. We've wiped for grease, we've sanded, and now we have wiped off all our excess sanding. So before we paint, we need to mask up. Because we're only painting the drawer front, we don't want to get any paint on the sides, because then that's going to give us a nice, neat, professional finish. So it's super simple. We're just going to run our frog tape down the back like this and tuck it in. So just one straight strip. Doing it in slow stages just so that you can make sure that you keep it nice and tight into the back. And then run your finger along and then just tear and knit down. So that's one bit done, and then we're just going to do the same down the sides. And again, there's no need to go around the back underneath, because how often does anyone lie underneath and look at the underside of the drawer? You just don't do it. So there's being a perfectionist, and then there's just being wasting your own time. And to be honest, you want to make sure you're still enjoying the project and not taking it so far that it becomes a bore. So just do what you need to do. So I'm taped up at the top. The drawer is almost ready. Now I'm just going to tape up the bottom. So the simplest way to get a stripe, because I'm going to paint around the bottom here, the first thing I'm going to do is use this line of the shelf as my marking point. And I'm going to go like this to mark round so that I get a nice straight line across there. So that's why having a shelf on the bottom will really help you. If you don't have a shelf, grab a tape measure, measure up however many inches you want, for example 4 or 5. So you would go 5, 5, and 5, make it on every side, so as you bring the tape round, that you can make sure you're getting a straight line, and so it doesn't get wonky. And then we're going to repeat this process around all of the legs. So again, you're just going to use that line as your guide so you can paint it. So we're going to do the front here, so we're using this line again. You can see how we're getting that nice straight line. I'm going to move it a little bit more to make sure I've got enough tape and round. See? Super simple and quick. And what's great about the frog tape is you don't get any leakage, but also if you're not going to have to like damage the piece of furniture when you're taking it off, because it's a low tack. You want to make sure that they're all the same. So with those set, you can then think about whether you want to add an extra touch. So I'm going to be painting down to here, but I'm also thinking, you know what, I would quite like to add an additional stripe detail to it just to give it a more professional touch. So I'm going to use my painter's tape like this to create a stripe. My marker. Then I'm going to get painter's tape again. And I'm going to use the top of that as my guide. And I'm just going to wrap this all the way around. Take that one off, and then you have your stripe ready to paint. You're going to want to make sure that at the back, if your tape didn't go around on the first one, you can just use your excess strips to mark that up. Like so. And then you have this point, so when you paint in here and you paint here, you'll then take those off and you'll then be left with your dipped legs and your stripe that goes round underneath. So then you just repeat that process on all three. So again, remember you're using your painter's tape first of all as your marker to save you having to mark it, and make sure you get that equidistant stripe on every single one. So I have my equal stripe, use this as my guide, go all the way around, take this one off, wrap this one round, and then use excess to touch up the bottom one down here. So I've got my height, stick it on, and then same again at the back. And again, you're left ready to paint, and when you'll take those off, you'll be left with your nice stripes. So remember, this is just one way. If you wanted to really go to town, say for a teens room or for something that's a little bit more graphic and eye-catching, you could do stripes all the way up on the legs. You could alter the colors, so you could do alternating stripes. You could do zigzags, so you could do chevron stripes down. Depending on how technical you want to be, the look that you want to go for, that's the great thing about customization, is you're making it personal to you and your tastes. So don't feel constrained. You know, that's the best thing about it. So it can be a little fiddly, but persevere with it, and just remember to use the tape as your guide. And the frog tape is pretty low tack, so you can peel up and reapply as and when you need it. Okay, last corner, we're almost time to paint. So again, I'm using this as my guide, sticking it on. So as I said at the top, if you love monochrome, the great thing about this is you've already got the white for you, so you can switch it out and use just black paint and use the white at the console table as your alternate color. Saves you having to paint with two different hues, which is going to make it a lot less complicated. So final piece on the back there, and then I'm just going to stick around on here to complete. So we get a nice straight line. Okay guys, we're all taped up and ready to paint. Okay, the good news is the prep is all out the way, so now you can start having fun with your paintbrushes. I love color, so naturally this is like my favorite bit of the whole project. And you can just get slapping it on like this. Using a big brush for the front, because you've got a large surface area, will make it easier and quicker to get some real coverage. So this is a 2-in-1 paint and primer, so you'll notice I'm just painting straight onto the sanded wood. That is fine. If you were doing it separate at this stage, you would do your primer first, let the primer dry, and then you would apply your first coat of paint. Don't worry about how it's looking brush marky at this stage, because you will need to do at least 2 coats to get a nice smooth finish. So as we go through, we're now just getting the whole of the drawer front done. Gonna run along, across from here. Now at this stage, with that first coat, you can use this brush, but then as you get to the behind bit where it gets a bit more intricate, I'm just gonna swap out for a slightly smaller brush, just so that I can get in on the detail without causing too much excess paint splatters. So I'm just gonna run down the back here, paint it in. In fact, in one of my favorite apartments, I did a neon coral paired with mint, and I put it on my blog, and it was literally one of the most popular DIYs I've ever done. It's like super popular. So ever since then, I've been like, hey, you know, like people seem to really love this. So I've tried to do like a DIY painted console unit in every apartment, and I swear, I've spent like hundreds of dollars on furniture, and it's always the piece that I got from Target that I've upcycled myself that really gets people stopping and talking. So it just proves that you don't have to spend a lot of money to make something really shine in your home. It's the personal touches that are really gonna impress people, because they won't have seen it before, and they're gonna be like, hey, I know my friend loves such and such. So as I said, everyone knows that I love NAUTICAL. I get all my friends take the mickey out of me, to use a British saying, 24/7 about how much I'm obsessed with it. So I like to play on that, because you know what, I do, and that's nice because it represents my personality. So don't worry, again, as I said, about it having the brush marks, because that second and third coat is when you're going to get the nice smooth finish. But do look out for drips, because what you don't want to happen is to use too much paint, it drip down and dry, because then you're not going to have a nice smooth finish. So if you do start to see drips, just get your brush, like there's one here you can see. So I'm just going to use the small brush, and I'm just going to run up. And can you see how that now becomes nice and smooth? So that's going to give you a much more professional, smart finish by the end. So it is worth, like, occasionally just standing back and looking to see where you might be able to see any drips to catch those. So I'm just going through now these finishing touches before I'm going to let it dry. I'm going to run up the side here. And notice how I've only gone to the paint pot like 2-3 times. You don't need a lot of paint, because you're going to get a much nicer finish if you layer the paint on in layers than try and slather loads on in one go. So I'm just making sure it's all neat at the back so that it matches right up to the tape and we're not going to get any white marks. So with the drawer done, we can now move on to paint down at the bottom. So bring your paint nice and close. We have a drop cloth down, which is great because you don't want to damage your carpets or floors, but still, the closer you are, the less likely you are to have spills. And then we're going to do the same again. Painting right up to the line, just slightly over the top of it. And again, don't go overboard with your paint. The less you have on your brush, the more control you'll have, the less drips you'll get, and the better your finish will be. Can you see as well, the best thing about having a drop cloth is you don't have to worry about the brush just touching down on the floor. Strip round and go up. So I've chosen to keep mine looking quite grown up and sophisticated, so I'm going for one color all the way around. But if you want to play with it, like I said before, once I've done 2 colors together, like a coral and a pink, you could go for pastels. You could go for a mod look, so black and white. You've just really got to use your paint choice to represent your personality. So we're just working around, and remember again, this is just your first coat. So you just want to get a nice layer of paint on there, keeping it smooth, making sure you're looking out for drips. All the same things all the way around. So we've got those 2 done. I'm now going to switch to a smaller brush to do the stripe, because I want to minimize the chance of going off course and getting too much drippage. So we're going to go round for our stripe, all the way around. And you can see I can do that in one load of paint. I don't need to add any more. So I just dip back when I move to do the next pillar. Quickly go around, making sure that it goes right up to that line. And it's worthwhile just looking in really intricate detail on that, because if you just have a slither of white, you're going to notice it. It needs to be exact. Okay, so 50% of the way there. We're going to switch sides and move over to here. So we're going to go up like this, right up to the line. So once you've got your first coat on, you're going to need to leave it to dry for at least 2 hours before you use your second coat. It's worthwhile checking your paint can tin just to make sure the guidelines, because it will vary depending on ventilation and humidity in the space. But as a rule of thumb, you're going to need to leave it around about 2 hours. These days, most paint companies have a fast drying paint product. This one is one of those. So it is usually touch dry and ready for a recoat in 2 hours, but it can vary, so just make sure to check. Once you have got your painted product done, you need to bring in lots of different personal pieces so that you end up bringing it into the space and not just plonking it there. So as you're going round from the different sides, keep checking to make sure that you've really gone right up to those lines. And then you won't kick yourself later on for being too quick with the project. So last stripe, and then we're ready to check before we chill out for a bit and do coat number 2. And that's the really exciting bit, because when you do coat number 2, the paint goes on so much better because you have this base, so you really start to see this smooth, professional finish come, and you can start to envisage what your piece is going to look like when it's done. So I'm going to do a quick check all the way around just to make sure. Any touch-ups? So I've been all the way around to check for any drips and any missing bits, and I think I'm covered. So I'm going to leave it for 2 hours, grab a cocktail while it dries. Okay, so it's still calm seas and plain sailing in the DIY. This point, what we've done so far is we've done our first coat of paint, we've done our second coat of paint. That's now dry and we're ready to accessorize. So the first thing I'm going to do is accessorize it with these super cute hardware pools from Anthropologie. They're really unaffordable, but they just give that fun nod towards the nautical theme that we've got. So I'm going to take off the washer at the back, pull the drawer open, and you simply stick it through, put the washer on at the back, and then tighten. Put that on tight, it goes straight on. Get that nice and tight. And then we're going to do exactly the same on the other side. And the reason I went for something very simple and white is to get that striking classic blue and white that reminds us all, or especially me, of the Greek islands. Because it's just classic, it never goes out of style, and it's going to give it a real punch. If I put blue on blue, the handle would kind of get lost. Because these are so fun, these anchor handles, you really want them to stand out. So just giving it that pop against it. So first step done. Now let's layer in all the other fun objects. So we're going to need a lamp, we're going to need baskets, we're going to need a mirror. This is going to pull it together to make it perfect for an entryway. So first things first, let's get a lamp. So I've got this lamp here. It's from Anthropologie, and it's the rope touch to it just gives it, again, that nod towards nautical. And I love it. It's textural. With it against this plain white unit, just having this dash of texture gives it so much more flavor and interest. And so it's important to think about that when you're layering in pieces, because if you put everything in with the same texture or the same finish, it's going to look flat. So think about mixing up tones and textures with what you're bringing into the piece to make it shine. So lamp's in place. Next stop, we're going to bring some more texture and height. So we've got this simple vase filled with driftwood and seawood, and that's just going to place at the side there to keep this linear plane is then going to be broken, which is what you need to do just to make it feel visually interesting and not boring. Next step, I'm going to bring in some more texture and some more color accents. So I got some sea glass vases from West Elm. They have a huge range of sea glass, so you can really mix and match depending on what your needs are and the sizes. So we're just going to place these here. Things don't tend to look great in even numbers, so while these two look fine, I'm going to add in a third, because if you're adding a trio, things always look better in a trio. So I'm going to get one more, and that's going to complete that little vignette of vases. Look at the difference just adding one in makes. Looks so much better. Okay, so that's set. But what we need to do now is bring in some more practical elements. And the way to do that is to bring in storage. Think of all the things you need by the front door in your entryway. Something to store it in. You've got the drawers, but if you want bigger things, like maybe perhaps coats, shoes, whatever it might be, baskets are the answer. So I've got these fantastic stripe dip baskets that not only is the color great, but the texture of them is fantastic for the seaside feel. They're going to refer back to the texture in the lamp, so you're keeping that continuity in place, but they're also got great color and look fantastic with the theme. So you can then add another splash of color in, so maybe a yellow accent, whatever you feel it might need. Just drape that in to break the look up a little bit and add some more visual interest to stop it feeling too matchy-matchy. And then add in some personal touches. So when it comes to personal touches, think about what represents you, and a book's a great way to do that, because the books say a lot about you and what you like to read, what interests you, what really is your personality. So bring some of those favorite touches in. So I've got two of my favorite books. One is all about the Greek islands, and the other is Domino. I mean, we all know and love that book. So I'm going to place those on there. And then, like I said before, things look better in threes than they do in twos. So I'm going to place something structural on top just to stop those flat linear planes of the books. And I have a handmade ceramic by Stella Atelier. And I've placed a succulent in to give a little nod to organic flavor. That's going to go on top there. And then I'm going to add in an art print just to stop this feeling too all of the same height. Because if you have everything at the same height, it starts to feel kind of staged and boring. So a great way to switch that up is to bring in a height, and a print is a great way to do that. Keep it relaxed and informal. You don't need to frame it if you like, just so that way you can switch it out with the seasons as your tastes change is a great way. So I'm just going to place that one at the back there. And then the final touch is to bring in a mirror, because you want to add some depth, but also it's great to be able to check yourself before you leave the front door to make sure you don't look a complete state like me. So let's bring in the next final touch. So this mirror again, I'm using Command 3M strips. So I'm just going to peel off the final one so it's ready to hang. And we're going to stand back first before we place it. And because we have the lamp in place, I don't want it to be centered. If I was to center it, it's going to look off because the lamp is to the side. So just place it slightly off center, to the side, get it at the right height, and then go all the way around, pressing really hard. And again, this wooden texture is so stunning and just brings in those organic touches. So remember back at the start when we just had this plain white everyday console unit, by bringing in color, texture, and pattern, we're really elevating it to look like a stylized, personalized space that represents my personality. And if you love nautical, it would be yours too. But remember, mix and match with whatever your personal taste and style is, but follow the same rules. Trios, mixing in textures, colors, different heights, and it's gonna look fantastic. I love it. Let me know what you're gonna make.